Hey guys, Stock Series episode 66. Get a free share using the link below on Trading212. Probably still EU only, but there you go. So, bit of a, slightly rough week this week, down about 2,000 overall. I thought that was pretty good, really. Seems to be a little bit of concern over sort of potentially tapering the money printing in the US, a little bit more inflation, sort of talks of interest rate rises next year, so we'll see what happens. The gold and silver stocks sort of haven't really moved all that much, but we'll see sort of what's to come. Going over to the Trading212 ISA, so that's down about £700, not too much really. The ARC Pi sort of dropping a little, which is good because the Bitcoin has started to take off for quarter four. So hopefully, if that's going into sort of a reasonable uptrend towards the end of the year, I'll be able to sell some of that off and average down. Hopefully some of these positions could mean selling off the Argo blockchain sort of towards the end of the year and the Bitcoin ETP. So Argo hasn't actually risen with the most recent Bitcoin rise. That was only yesterday. So we'll see. Expect that's going to catch up. And the Bitcoin ETP does sort of pretty much move with the price, so that's up 13% in the last week. That's helped out. But yeah, most of the other sort of stocks and REITs and that sort of thing are fairly down. So 5.5% on American Tower. The sort of more speculative REITs, I guess, the higher valuation REITs. Coming down a little. Sentiment not doing too bad. Digital Realty is down, sort of similar to American Tower. Again, sort of fairly high value REIT. First Majestic down a little bit. Silver's been sort of really whacked over the last sort of couple of months, really. Polymetal down 2.5%. Sort of very low valuation. Oil sort of rising, so the gold price not rising and oil rising is one of their biggest costs, so profit will be getting a bit hit if gold and silver don't rise. But we'll see. Stag not done too bad, one of the smallest fallers. Sylvania down a little, but not too bad. Rhodium potentially seems to have bottomed in price, so yeah, if that's sort of rising steadily from here, then that should be good. The Tritax, Big Box and Eurobox both down. Eurobox not doing too bad, and Vici's fairly down as well. So going over to the invest account, this is where quite a bit of the cash will probably be going if I sell off some of my crypto later in the year. I won't be doing it just yet. For anybody who's interested, that will come sort of later on. I've been reinvesting some of the dividends from this week, so I got Polymetal dividend come through in the ISA. I haven't spent that just yet, but also got the Rio Tinto and Shell and Glencore last week. So yeah, there's about sort of £500 worth of dividends come in this week, and I spent that all on Alibaba. So they're down 0.5%, 0.6%. Thought that was a reasonable price. This was smaller than my Process, which is sort of 10-cent exposure really, and Baidu positions, and with sort of Alibaba being one of the bigger companies, I thought best up my position slightly on that, and I was 30% down, so it's good. Like that. Airtel Africa, fairly flat. A lot of the US ones are sort of reasonably down. Anthem down 1.5. Archer Daniels actually up a bit, so that's not too bad. ASOS in a huge drop. Boohoo did as well, I saw, so sort of competitors both dropping. And this is sort of higher inflation and restructuring costs and that sort of thing. Aviva slightly down, Baidu down a little, Bank of Nova Scotia pretty flat, slightly up for the week. Barrett's down a reasonable amount, 4%, so I think this is rising costs of building and sort of relatively flat-ish housing market, but profits look good, revenue looks good. Probably another one that I'll top up if it stays there later on in the year. Bristol Myers not moved too much. Broadcom down a little. Caterpillar sort of near enough flat, down a little. eBay down 4%. Glencore actually bucking the trend, up 5.5%. So that's good. Quite a bit of return on that now, 12.7%. FedEx down a little. Hewlett Packard pretty flat. Hymex pretty flat. Intel, yeah, these sort of lowish value stocks not doing too bad. International paper down 6.5%. I need to read up on the news on this. I guess could be just increase in sort of costs, timber and that sort of thing. So yeah, that one's a little bit rough, but I still think they look good. Invesco fairly flat. ETFs not doing too bad on the emerging markets. Japan down quite a bit, but that had been sort of rising for a little while, so a bit of a pullback there. Global clean energy down a little. Europe down a little. Yeah, like I say, everything sort of across the board is pretty much down a few percent on average. Water ETF even. Legal and General actually flat for the week. That's pretty good. Lennar actually down the most of the house builders. No surprise there. Lockheed down a little. Micron down quite a bit. They just seem to be a beaten down stock all the time. Probably average down that one a little bit later in the year. Nintendo down quite a bit. I sort of tried to read a little bit of the news, and all I could see was there was a bit of confusion over some of the developers were sort of developing 4K games when the new console isn't 4K capable. It's just an OLED sort of new type of LED screen rather than 4K. And then Nintendo came out and denied it, and don't know if it was all over that, then seems a bit crazy. But yeah, another one that I'll top up later in the year. Porsche pretty flat for the week, up 1.4%. Not too bad. I think this is one that I'll be looking to top up on later in the year. Even though it is quite a bit up, I still think Volkswagen look pretty good. Rising EV sales and all that. Process down 3.3%. That's 10 cents sort of still getting a bit whacked with these gaming bans and sort of limits. Raytheon fairly flat. Renault, yeah, pretty flat for the week, slightly up. That's good. Rio, not too bad. Shell, you've probably seen the queues at petrol stations. Shell doing quite well. The oil's sort of pretty much at 3 or 4 year highs now. Not quite up to sort of where it was like 5 years ago, but doing pretty well. And yeah, the price is sort of still fair bit under, sort of in the £25 in pre-COVID times, and oil was about the same level here. So obviously they're trying to transition into more green energy, and maybe there's a little bit of uncertainty as to how well that'll go. They cut the dividend as well, so people aren't very happy about that. But yeah, I think look pretty good. Sort of forward earnings and forward cash flow still makes them quite cheap, really, if oil's going to stay where it is or even continue up. Samsung down again, really starting to look like reasonable value here. Invested, they're sort of developing a hell of a lot of different sectors. I didn't realise. Sort of big player in the battery industry, as well as sort of memory and all their consumer electronic stuff, semiconductors. Seems almost like a little ETF. Sega down quite a bit. Seneca Foods quite up. Seems pretty good. Haven't seen earnings, but yeah, expect that's coming. Siemens 7.5% down. Haven't seen the news on this. Expect it's they were sort of relatively high valuation, really. Done really fairly well over the last year. I sort of invested back in January, and that's done quite well, but having a bit of a pullback. Sony similar 7% down. They were doing quite well, so we had a little push up, but they're having a pullback. Not particularly overvalued from what I can see based on earnings. PlayStation still doing well. If we can get some more chips and sell some more, then that should bump up the gaming side of it. Stellantis down a little, 3%. TSMC similar. Taylor Wimpey, yeah, as I say, well, sort of similar to Lennar, really. Rising costs, but UK housing market, I would generally think is relatively robust. I still think probably a little bit of downside maybe to come, but Taylor Wimpey should be doing well. My little lone Tesla share, pretty flat for the week. Turtle Beach down quite a bit. Tyson Foods slightly up. That's pretty good. Vale down 2%. Everyone's sort of looking at this huge drop, wondering when it's going to end. But similar to Rio Tinto, really. They're quite heavy on iron ore, so should be a good buy. Video games ETF down. That's partly China. Beatrice slightly up, and yeah, Volkswagen slightly up. So overall, pretty good. I expect some people have had some larger drops, and yeah, if we're going to get this Bitcoin rise towards the end of the year, should have a fair old amount to add to the portfolio. Whether I put it all in here, I'm still sort of undecided, still looking at interactive brokers, or maybe I just want to sort of put it here until maybe some of the bigger boys drop their fees. And yeah, we'll see where we go then. So leave your thoughts in the comments below, and like and subscribe if you want to see more. See you soon.